big soul, a big soul, a big soul, a big soul.
Hey everybody, welcome. I'm here today with my bandmate Caroline Wampole. Hi Caroline, how are you doing today?
Hey, Caleb. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And
Good.
we are doing the Big Soul podcast, which we're calling Big Soul a musical journey because it really is a musical journey. And we're here to talk about the making of the Big Soul album to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the release of the album in France. So very exciting. We're going to talk about the story of how we made that album. And so just to set the stage, Caroline, where were we at that point when we were getting ready to start this part of the journey?
Well, 30 years ago today, actually it was 30 years ago this summer, if you go back a little bit, few months before that, we were in a pretty good place. The band we'd sort of found this sound that we were exploring with Hippie Hippie Shakes, with the development of that song and getting kind of this energy of what we had always wanted and thought of for the band. But we finally had, like, when you wrote that opening to Hippie Hippie Shake, and we saw sort of the potential to be more of a dance band, kind of funky, fun, influenced by these sort of rap, hip hop beats, but also a little bit punk, a little bit rock, a little bit, all these genres merging together. And that was when we decided, with this sort of new sound and with these songs that we had, that we wanted to record a professional demo tape.
Yeah, we needed to take it to the next level for sure.
Yeah.
And so we had to have a professional recording at that point. And so we really needed a professional sounding demo. So at that point, I think that we were kind of in between drummers, and we didn't have a really kind of solid band lineup, but we felt like we had a really solid song in Hippie Hippie Shake.
Yeah.
And we wanted to record a demo tape. So we found it was like actually in the neighborhood where we lived, this little recording studio that was a professional recording studio called Echo Sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so we booked some time there, and we actually invited Joe, our drummer, who was our former drummer at that point, because like what you were explaining before was that Joe really elevated the sounds and he was part of the whole Hippie Hippie Shake sound. So we asked him if he would come back. And fortunately, he agreed to come back and help us record the demo of Hippie Hippie Shake and a couple of other songs. So we got into the recording studio. We had an engineer. His name was Eric, but we were really kind of producing, and it was really, I think Joe was really kind of like driving, and because he was a lot more experienced than us in the studio.
In the studio, yeah, that was his background, and so he brought. I mean, there's like a picture of him with, I don't even know what is he doing. What is that?
He is actually, the picture of him that we have. He's on the sampler. Because,
sampler. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you know what you remember what he was sampling?
The woos.
Yeah, it was you. He sampled you. So
well,
right,
I've been wanting someone to do that forever.
But he got that sampling together, but really like his really big contribution to that recording session was his drumming, which he just laid down this amazing drum track on Hippie Hippie Shake. And that really that lifted the song, it drove the song, it really like made it what it was.
And percussion.
And percussion. And we recorded a couple of other songs too, and we had a friend, kind of like musical colleague, his name was Jeff, and he did some backup vocals, not on Hippie Hippie Shake, but on a couple of other songs. And those other two songs, they really were not anywhere near as good. Hippie Hippie Shake was really the marquee song on that demo tape.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we made this demo, and I recall we made 100 copies. It was a cassette tape, and we made our designed the liner, or the, what do you call it? The flap?
The jacket or the insert.
And then we sent that out. We sent it to record companies, but also to entertainment lawyers and managers with photos. to see what, and we got some bites. We did get
There
some
were a
bites.
couple of people that called us back and
Yeah.
were interested, but it never really went farther than that, than just a
No.
couple of conversations.
So after that, pretty soon after that, we made another demo.
We made another demo. We were thinking by that time we had gotten a drummer, Mick Flores, and we had gotten a backup singer, Christy Callan. And
Yep.
so we had actually what we considered, okay, this is like really
Full band.
the band, and we were playing
Yeah.
a lot of shows, and
Yep.
we really kind of felt that, okay, maybe we need another demo tape that really kind of captures more of just who we are as a band, as opposed to just having like a couple of kind of like commercial demos. We wanted something that really kind of captured the character of the band. So we went back into Echo Sounds. We used another engineer, but we recorded, I think it was 5 songs, and we called that demo Stonehead, and we still have the demo tape around, and we've got like a lot of liner notes on it. But I remember you came back home and you said, a woman who's a fan of the band, she really likes the band, and she said, I've got some honest feedback for you. This demo that you just recorded, it doesn't capture who you are as a band. It doesn't capture, you guys are really energetic. You've got all this like dynamic kind of stage presence,
Yeah.
and the demo just, it sounds like a little bit low energy.
Yeah.
And that really hurt a lot. And I think the reason that it hurt the most is that we knew it was true. That is,
Well,
a
it must
problem
be
there.
true, because until a few days ago, I had no memory of that demo tape at all.
You tried to forget about it.
I don't have a
Yeah.
copy of it, and I don't remember one thing about recording it. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, well, it actually, there were a couple of songs that actually ended up on the album, and this whole discussion that we're having right now is kind of, it's really leading up to how we recorded the album, and the album was kind of recorded in 3 phases. There was
Right.
that first demo tape, the second demo tape, and then the next phase. We were trying to solve that problem.
Mhm.
And you remember that band Boys Named Sue, Caroline?
Yeah, of course, I love them. They were great.
Yeah.
They were good pals. Good.
I remember they had their own demo, and their demo sounded great.
Mhm.
It was just really high
Yeah.
energy. It just had the sound, I think, if not the musical style, it had the sounds that we're looking for. And so we asked them, we said, like, how did you do this? Like, where did you record it? And they said, there's this guy named Dean Chamberlain, and he's got a little recording studio. It's not really a professional recording studio, but he's got a little recording studio in Hollywood, and he is a great producer.
Yeah.
And that word producer, that meant something to me, because we had been producing, we just had engineers on our
That's
demos,
right.
but
Right.
we didn't have a producer. When you've got like a real music producer, a music producer, listens to the sound, they understands like what the band is, and then there's just like a lot more kind of like creativity and really kind of high level decisions that go into how the album is recorded.
Yeah.
And when we met Dean, we knew that he was going to be that person for us.
Yeah, he got us. He was a guitarist. He'd played guitar in the Motels, which was like a seminal LA band. And just to put a little bit of context, this is 1992. And a lot of what was on the radio and sort of out there was alternative music, but like you think like Spin Doctors or, Red Hot Chili Peppers maybe they'd been around, but there was a feeling that we had in our live shows. And I think that, meeting Dean, and he really seemed to get us as a band, like his personalities, because there was a personality aspect. When you talk about what happens live, people, a guitar teacher said to me years later, people don't go to hear a band, they go to see a band. And so to capture that personality, there's a sound element, but there's a personality element that I think Dean was really great at capturing that, because he liked us. And he was also just a really skilled producer /
He knew what he was doing. I mean, he actually was like a very like skilled engineer in the
Yes.
the sense of like technically making a recording.
Yeah.
And he was a really skilled engineer using a very kind of primitive studio.
Yes.
Because he, like when you think of a real recording studio, and this applied to echo sounds. You've got, how you've got like the window, the big
console.
window, the
Yeah,
glass that's in between
that's
the
right.
console and the band performs in
Yeah.
there, and it's just like, very like nice looking. This was not like this at all.
No.
This was his Dominion sound recording setup. It was basically like this kind of like long hallway. So he
Yes.
had his little 16 track machine, which was not, state of the art at all.
Analog.
Analog. And he had his mixing board. And then behind him, instead of in front of him, behind him was this long hallway that led to another room and that was where the bands would record. So
Right.
we set up the drums, and we did our vocals in there. We did, and we record everything live, not the vocals, but all of the instrumental tracks. We record that live the very same way that we were playing our live shows.
That was the goal. I mean, that was why we did it, and that was why I just remember a lot of time, like I have written in my journals, like just the time it took to set up, to mic the drums. But we had been playing these songs so much, so we had this new drummer, Adam, and we'd been playing around town, and we really had locked in, and you and I had been playing some of these songs, since 1990.
Dean really pushed us. I
Yeah.
remember him, he made me record my guitar parts over and over again.
Over and over.
He had us.
That's right.
Yeah, he had us like double guitar parts, which I did not even know about that.
Yeah.
And then he just really encouraged us to have fun. And if you look at some of the pictures of us, there are a couple of pictures of us actually recording.
Yeah.
We were having fun, and we were kind of like acting out the songs and joking around, and that's what he really encouraged.
He was into it. He liked us as a band, and I think that
He was really into
it
it.
sounds really basic, but we recorded with other people, and I definitely feel that when producer engineer likes the band and likes the energy and likes us as people, it makes a huge difference. And
Yeah.
so the other thing too, Caleb, is that why we were doing this. Like, we sort of need to back up of why did we want to make our own CD?
I think we had the idea that we were going to record our own album, a full album. And by that time, it wasn't so much just tapes all the time. There were CDs, and that was
Right.
kind of like a new thing. You could actually record a full album and make your own CDs.
Right.
So that's what we intended to do. We said, okay, we're just going to start selling CDs at our shows. And that was a big part of the expense of making the album. And we didn't actually have all that money.
No.
So I think we borrowed some money from our parents.
That's right. Well, because bands, the technology hadn't caught up yet. It was pretty expensive to do that. I think it was $5,000 or something at the time, which there wasn't software and things where you could just make your own album with a click of a button. And in terms of releasing it or distributing it, I remember we had to order 1,000 copies. Most bands were not doing this. This was a little bit ahead of the time, as I recall. I think that we had maybe met I only remember one band that had made a CD. Maybe there were a couple more, but it was not a usual thing. Is that right?
Yeah. So we had to not only record the album, but we had to design the artwork. And so there was a picture that you took of me jumping in the studio.
Yep.
And we used that. That was kind of the main picture of the album. And we designed it. And then we designed our, the kind of the liner notes. And that was kind of like our calling card at that point to say like, hey, look, we've got this like professionally recorded CD. And we use those as demos, for promotional purposes, but we also actually sold them. We were trying to recoup some of that money.
Well, we were selling them at shows, but also for our younger listeners out there, there was no internet, and there was no way for people to hear your music if it wasn't played on the radio, or if they didn't actually have a physical object to play. There was no sort of streaming device. So we weren't on the radio. We weren't even on college radio. And I'm gonna call the metaphor that I think of when I think of the CD that we made is a message in a bottle. If you think of people writing a message and putting it in a bottle and putting it in the ocean and then seeing if anyone ever finds it, and it was a bit that. It was, we just wanted to see where this would end up. And
spoiler alert, it did end up somewhere.
spoiler alert. In our next episode, so our next episode is actually going to be about what happened to this CD, how it ended up in the hands of a French tourist who bought it on Sunset Strip, and also about the song in French, which kind of, is much of the reason that we got to France to begin with. So that's anything else you want to say about making the album?
I think that's it. I'm really looking forward to talking about that next episode.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thanks for being here, everybody that's out there, and stay safe and listen to some good music today and enjoy it.
A big
See you
soul.
next time.
See you next time. Bye.